Okay, we're ready to get started. Thank you very much. I'm Tom Childers. I preach at Finger, Tennessee, just south of Henderson, about 7 or 8 miles. Serve as an elder. I've been there about 12 or 13 years so, and I work with Brother Earl Edwards. What I'd like to do, normally when I do computer classes kind of like this, I don't only talk about the subject assigned, but I talk about something new going on. And there are a couple of things that I'd just like to briefly mention to you. One of them is this cost me some bucks to get ready for this class because I was using an iPhone 13, which will not do Apple Intelligence or will not do AI or Apple Intelligence. And so I ended up getting the iPhone 16e, which is the cheaper model. And with the educational discount, I got it fairly cheap, and but I added a little bit of memory to it, so that drove the price up. But it is about $600. That was opposed to the one that I had, the 13. Yeah, close those doors, please. Which would be probably twice that much. And the only thing that I don't really, and I didn't know this when I bought it, but they have disabled or they have not put the ability to plug in a cable and adapter and plug in an HDMI to it. And so what we're doing, we're doing a bypass in that I'm actually doing my laptop to the computer screen, but then I'm taking my iPhone and I'm saying I want to mirror my iPhone to the MacBook Pro, which you see right there, which works great. So works fine. The second thing is we are completely redoing our sound system and video and that sort of thing at Finger. We're a small congregation, but we started before COVID. We were about 2 years before COVID, so we were ready whenever COVID hit in the fact that we could do stuff. But we got a Mevo camera and had an investment of less than $500, which is not very much for, but he did a great job. But we are now doing it a little bit differently. And one of the things I did is I donated an older computer, a Mac computer, about a 2017 model, for the church to work. And it worked fine. I mean, it was working fine until we got ready to do Page's Keynote, and it will not run any version of that software. So it's outdated. So I said, oh yeah, I forgot. That's the reason I got rid of it. That's the reason I donated it. And so that kind of backfired on me. So I did some research and I came up with a Mac Mini. Anybody operating a Mac Mini? Which one do you have?
It's the bigger one. Bigger this way than that one. It's
okay.
It's only a couple of years old. It runs like a top.
Well, this is the newest model, and this is a big box. This is actually about the size it is. And I mean, you're going to do wonders with that thing. And we got it for $540, counting the tax. And all you got to do is plug in a monitor and keyboard and mouse. And if you got a wireless one of those, you don't even have to plug that in. So I spent about $2,000 on one of the iMacs, self-contained deal. And I wished I had my money back and I'd get one of these, and it would do. Plus, this right here, you can do a lot of stuff with it. You can add a lot of stuff to it. Whereas the one I have, there's not much you can do to it. You can actually add memory to it. You can also add hard disk space. You can put as much hard disk space as you want to spend on it. So, and you don't have to do it with Apple. I mean, you can get third-party stuff. So I thought I'd mention those two things to you in reference to that. So I was doing a search on AI, and it said, well, it's a little town outside of Jericho. And I thought, no, that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for that. But that's one reason you got to have your thinking cap on. You got to be a little more specific in what I was. I lost my wife, my first wife, in 2000. It was Easter Sunday, just about the time COVID started. She passed away. And it was a bad situation because you couldn't have funerals. You couldn't have more than two people at a time in a room, and it was just, from that standpoint, it was just horrible. But about a year later, Brother Earl lost his wife. He had actually been married twice, and he'd been married about 33 years to each one of them. And so I asked Brother Earl, I said, after a few months or so, I said, Brother Earl, which was worse, losing your first wife or your second wife? And he said, well, I think losing my second wife was, because when I lost Gwen, I was right in the middle of building up the graduate program at Freed-Hardeman, getting that established. And Brother Gardner had a lot of work for me to do, and I stayed busy, and I was doing Bible studies, and I was doing preaching. And so I was just really, really busy. But when I lost my second wife, Laura, it was about a year in after COVID. And he couldn't do Bible studies. He couldn't visit the nursing home. No hospital visits. And he said, now, Tom, you've got family close by. I have 2 children live in Henderson, and another daughter that's in Columbia, about 2 hours away. He said, you've got family here close by. And he said, my closest son is in Montgomery, and my daughter's over in Arkansas. And all I can do is just sit here and look at these 4 walls. There's not much I can do. And he said, definitely, this second time is the worst time. So he said, why don't we do this? Brother Earl really loves expository preaching, and I've piddled with it a little bit, but nothing like he has. That's about the only kind of preaching that he does. Sometimes he'll do topical, but generally speaking, he will always do expository. And he's in the book of Colossians right now. And he likes to, and of course, that's a series type thing. He said, why don't we start with the book of Mark, and I'll do the introduction to it this Sunday, and I'll do the Bible class, and then I will do the Wednesday night class. And then, if I want to visit for 10 days, I can visit 10 days. And the next Sunday, you do the same thing. You pick up where I leave off. Here's a pericope, heading of Scripture, and this is what he's going to discuss, and then I'll take the next pericope, just the next section of Scripture. And I thought, okay, I'll do that. And there would be times in which I would say, what in the world am I going to do with that passage of Scripture? There's not a thing in the world that I can see I can get out of that passage of Scripture. It's nothing there. And I began to do a little studying and a little more studying and a little more studying. The first thing you know, it turned out to be one of the best lessons from my perspective that I'd preached in a long time. And so it took us about a year to get through. And that was, I think, that was one of the best years. Of course, I was preaching every other Sunday, but that was one of the best years that I spent in doing that. And one of the ones that I want to share with you, we've had more than one person. We have several people say, I want to know how to use AI in Bible study. And so I want to give you an example of what I learned from the book of Mark. How many of you have heard of the Markian sandwich? I did a search on that and on AI. And it said a BLT, a club sandwich, a grilled cheese, peanut butter and jelly, Philly steak, Reuben. I thought, oh, that's not quite what I was asking for. I said, list the Markian sandwiches. Okay, so I had to go back and do another deal. And this time I said, list the sandwiches in the Gospel of Mark. And if you'll do some of your deeper commentaries, we'll list those for you. And what it is, it's basically a sandwich. And what you have, one of my favorite ones, let me see, I think it's in about Mark, yeah, the cleansing of the temple. So what you have is basically, the reason it's called a sandwich, you got a piece of bread, and then you got the meat, and then at the bottom you got the bottom part of the sandwich, you got bread. So when Jesus is, the last week that he is in Jerusalem, he goes, oops, what in the world happened there? Thank you for Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Okay. All right. It has to do with the fig tree. And the reason Mark uses that there are probably several different shades of meaning that he has, but generally speaking, he's got a main point, and he uses this part and this part to explain what he's putting in the middle. And let me show you what he's talking about, or what I'm talking about. You have Jesus cursing the fig tree. You remember Jesus gets up before breakfast. That's the way most of us are. And after a while, if we can't find anything at home, then we do a drive-through. And so Jesus does a drive-through. He wants to get some food off of a fig tree. And there are leaves all over the tree. And that's advertising there should be at least some nubbins on there. It's the first fruits. It's not the full-grown fruits. They won't come until later on. But there are these little nubbins on there. And so they're good to snack on. I mean, they'll keep you going for several hours. So Jesus sees this fig tree. He's a human being, but he's also the Son of God, but he chooses not to know about this fig tree. You can't tell if it's got any fruit on it until you get up close and move the leaves around and look, oh, there's something. So Jesus comes and sees this fig tree that's got leaves on it, and he gets there and it has nothing. So he goes away hungry. And so Jesus curses the fig tree. He calls his disciples. He says, I want you to watch this. He calls his disciples and he says, you will never have fruit on you again. So he curses that tree. The only miracle that Jesus performs, I think, that is a destructive miracle. It's not to heal somebody, to make them better. It is to kill something. And so then he goes, crosses down the Mount Olives, crosses the Kidron Creek or Valley, and goes up the hill, goes through the Golden Gate, and teaches in the temple. But on that day, he cleanses the temple. But cleansing is not really a good word. Basically, what he is doing is he is getting rid of the corruption that's taken place. The people that are in charge of the temple, the people that are conducting the sacrifices, that are in charge of everything, are corrupt people, and they're not really God's people. They are fleshly Israel. They have the blood of Abraham, but they're not the people of God. Paul will argue in the book of Romans that not all Jews are Jews. What do you mean? Well, just because you have Jewish blood doesn't mean that you're a faithful believer in God and you love the Lord and you're serving Him with all of your heart. So Jesus, he doesn't really cleanse the temple. He basically drives these people out and says, you are not the people of God. You have no part in this. You're claiming, because you've got leaves, you're claiming to have fruit. There's no fruit, so I'm done with you. It is a judgment scene. It's not so much a cleansing, like you clean your house and make it look pretty and shiny. It is a judgment. I'm done with you. Now, how do you know that? Well, look at what he says next. After he cleanses the temple, he leaves that afternoon and he goes back and he reverses his course and goes back and stays with Mary and Martha and Lazarus. And the next morning, he comes back the same way. And he walked close enough that the disciples can see this fig tree, and he sees that it is dead. But it's not dead like a tree that Susan has in her backyard, where there are sprouts coming up, but there are a lot of dead limbs on it. It is dead from the root. If a tree dies, some of the branches dies, there's hope for it to come back. But the point of it, that tree, when Jesus cursed it, it died from the root up. The roots died first, and then the rest of it withered. And so the disciples look, and they look at that tree. It is dead from the roots. So what's the message? that tree is never going to produce any more fruit. Never. And so there are a lot of people that say, well, we need to side with Israel because they're the people of God and there's a future for them. Well, most of those people are agnostics. They are materialistic. They certainly don't believe in Jesus. They're not the people of God. And so Jesus is saying, just because you're Abraham's seed, that does not give you the right to claim to be God's people. Because after all, God can take these stones and he can take these stones and he can create children with Abraham's blood flowing. So he's basically, what Mark is doing is using a very powerful statement. He curses a fig tree because it claims to be something that is nothing. He goes in and he brings judgment on the temple because they claim to be something and they're nothing. And he says, God is done with you. God is going to walk away from you. And how do we know that God did that? From a historical standpoint, how do we know that took place? Because 36 years later, what happens? Titus comes in and he wipes the city clean. Destroys all the records. No more. God is looking at Jew and Gentile who love him with all of their heart. It's not a matter of, are you a descendant of Abraham? That never was the issue. You've got to have a faith like Abraham had. So it's a very powerful way of saying, of explaining, using the two things, top and bottom, to put a greater emphasis on what he's talking about in the middle. Because a lot of times we miss what he's talking about in the middle. But whenever you look at it from what he did to the tree, end results, then you could see that it's judgment that he brings on it. Any questions or comments about that? There are about 6 or 7 of those in the book of Mark. And they are similar. They're different, but they're similar. You have the story, you have the meat, and then you have the story. And so you have those. And a lot of times we read the book of Mark and we think, well, Mark just throws that in, and he throws that in. Well, what does cleansing the temple have to do with the fig tree? But if you see fig tree, cleansing the temple, and fig tree, you say, whoa, that's one of those sandwiches that he used. And it's a technique that's not just unique to the Bible. Writers for centuries, even back in Jesus' time when they wrote, sometimes they used this same kind of technique. So it's the American sandwich. So hope that makes you hungry for more Bible study. And basically all you have to do, all I did is just type in, give me a list of all of them. There it is. They're the ones that, I don't know that he does. I think he does only 4, but if you dig a little deeper, you'll find out I think there are about 6 or 7 or so. All right. Any questions or comments?
Quickly.
Yes, sir.
Chat GPT, you prefer that to Grok, or you don't have a preference?
I am still piddling around. I haven't bought or paid for any one. Every one that I have is, and I don't think I can get the full benefits unless I pay for something. But I'm trying to figure out which one do I want to pay for. Anybody got any recommendation on what to do there?
What did he say?
Well, you got, for instance, you look right here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 right here, and there are dozens and dozens. You got a lot of them that look a whole lot like this, but that icon changes a little different. Every one of these are different. These are models, and some of them are designed to work primarily with images. Some of them are designed to work with maybe the Bible. Some of them are designed to deal with academics. So you've got different models, and so you kind of look at which one you want to get. Now, some of them may have 4 or 5 in the same package, and so if you want to do an image, then I think this one maybe does an image. I'm not sure, but I've only been doing this for about a month or 2, so I'm brand new. But guess what? That's where all of us were at one time on almost everything that we got into. So what we do is we get into it and we look at it, and we try to get as by cheaply as we can. We don't want to spend a whole lot of money, but at the same time, we want to use our money wisely whenever we do that. All right, any other question? That's a great question. Amy, have you played around with any of these enough to recommend, or what would you suggest?
Honestly, I can't see that far.
Oh, you can't see it. Sorry.
Would you list those? What they are?
Okay, this is Chat GPT. This is AI Chat. This is Grok. This is Elon Musk model. This is Bible Answers AI, and this is Perplexity.
So I'm mostly familiar with ChatGPT, but I've not worked with a ton of the other ones. If I see something like on social media that recommends an AI, I'll go and piddle with it for a little bit, and just to see what it does and what it's like.
Yeah.
And I cannot think of what any of them are called off the top
Okay,
of my head.
okay,
I just, well, I have my computer, but we can, I just click on the icon and I just mess around and see.
Well, that's what I would recommend for you to do. Is just to.
I do try to test it a little bit. Like I'll put the same thing in each of the AI.
Yes.
So if I was, I wanted to know. I think you mentioned yesterday how many yards were in a
Osborne was from Kennedy when he shot.
Yes, so I would use that same prompt in each one of them.
Yeah.
Just to kind of test. That way, it's you have your control and.
Yes. That's a great point. And here's this is right here are the very, very different models. This works with PDFs. You can. I took the 25 lectureship book and loaded it into this and said, give me a summary of the book. And so it did that. You got an image generator. You got translations, you got essay writing, proofreading, song, resume, rewrites. By the way, let me make this point. This is a point, I think, in favor of AI. And maybe Amy can add a little bit to this. I think one of the greatest benefits of AI is this is going to enable medical professionals to diagnose cancer much quicker, much sooner. My wife died of ovarian cancer, and usually about the time you are diagnosed with it, you've got about a year to live. I mean, you just don't have much time. Yes.
So actually, I finished my master's degree in 10 days. Can't wait. But my thesis is actually on the impact that AI has had on quality improvement, specifically in NICUs. But in my research that I have found that they are using AI to help radiologists diagnose cardiovascular diseases, and then any imaging.
Yes.
It's so much more detailed than the human eye, and so it has made profound changes to the medical field.
Yes, and this would be my challenge. Even it doesn't matter how old you are, but of course, if you're my age, you don't have a whole lot of time to play around with it. But of course, we don't know how long any of us have. But what you can do is to use this, and in your work, you might be able to figure out something that you can use from a biblical standpoint that you can facilitate. Who knows what you can do with it? You have to experiment with it and go from there. So there's recipes, business ideas, resumes, just all sorts of stuff. So this one right here looks like it would be a pretty good one, but the problem is that, let's see, I'm not sure which one I would use just to start a conversation. Let's see. Um, I'm not even getting close to marking sandwich. That's not even going. But I think what it will do, it maybe will give us some idea. Okay, it's really sending us to the internet on this one. That's interesting. But the idea is, you notice on chat on the other one, it was more outlining. It was getting points and subpoints and that sort of thing. And to me, that stands, as a preacher, that stands out because it's very easy visually to follow. These are just like in paragraphs and that sort of thing. So that's you want to look at what kind of formatting it will put out. That will be, I think, one thing that you would want to look at. And so let me see right here. Notice how that how that does in the points. See, you got story A, B, and story A again. It understands that this is really a sandwich. A, the meat, and then the bread. A is bread, and B is the meat. What's in between. So what's in between tends to explain, or actually this and this explains what's in between. And so that's done several times in the book of Mark. All right, what other questions do you have? Yes.
This isn't a question, but
Yes.
I thought of, you mentioned some of the good ones. Microsoft Copilot's pretty good.
Okay.
That's actually.
So that's an AI program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Google's is what, Gemini? Is that, say, I'm just beginning to learn some of these, and so just get started and see. It'd be interesting to come back a year from now and see how much progress we
I
have.
was just wondering, Tom,
Yes.
with my business, they've taken AI and inputted information about our products and different things.
Yes.
I just wondered if the church had done anything like that with AI, or if there was anybody doing projects like that.
I think we are right here pretty well. There are some folks that are maybe a little ahead of us, but I would say if you were to do a poll, I think of the Finger congregation, 90% of the members would be skeptical. I don't want that. I don't want to fool with that because it's just something new. It's just something new. Well, guess what? You're on Facebook. That was new to you at one time, but now you're having a ball doing that. So a lot of times we are scared of the unknown, and we hear all horror stories, and even the news will play on this. They'll say, well. And I think it was one of the guys that was maybe the godfather of AI said, well, if it keeps going the way it's going, in a few years, it's going to mean the end of the human race. Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think God has other plans. If it's going to be the end of the human race, it's going to be God's doing. It's not going to be AI's that's going to be calling the shots. Yes, sir.
Over the past year or so, I have been with different ones doing the imaging.
Okay.
Just tell it, what kind of image are you looking for?
Yeah.
Because you can't find something for a PowerPoint you want to do.
Right.
Something. And I have found that ChatGPT lately has done very well.
Yes.
I needed a background for First Peter, and I just a simple sentence, show me a person with his head in his hands on the side of the street in the Mideastern country.
Yeah.
And it really did a really good job.
Yeah.
Just a simple background.
The key to it is if you're looking for images or say picture or image, give me an image.
Yes.
Just don't say, make sure to add that part of it because it.
And understand that if you're doing the free version, you only get so many tries.
Oh yes, you run it's you got. I'm not sure how many you get, but I don't use it often enough to run out, but actually it kind of resets itself. Tomorrow you get it starts all over, and you got. But if you use it a whole lot, then you're going to run out fairly quickly. Yes.
Are the fees like an annual subscription, like everything else?
You can. The best deal is the annual subscription. Let me see if I can get you a price on some of this stuff. Surely they've got somewhere you can get a price on it. Pardon? Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. How much do
Yes,
you cost? See, I'm not in the habit of using it. I wouldn't do it. It would take me a long time. Costs $20 a month to give you a GP4, and it's GP4 Turbo. Some of them are cheaper than that. Some will let you do it for. I'm sorry. Some of them will let you do it for like $4 a week. Some of them $39 a year. So you just have to kind of shop around and look and see. I'm not at the point of knowing which one to use, so I'm not going to spend any money on any of them at this point. But when I get the one that I feel comfortable with, and the one that I feel the best with right now is ChatGPT. I think that's probably the most common one, but you see more people using that. But anyway, that's a great question. Any other questions?
Yeah, I want to know I want brief log off for dummies.
All right. Logos, I've been a Logos user for probably 20, 25 years or so. And I kind of gave up with them. I just was not very happy with them around 2007, 2008, so forth. But I kind of, once you've got, and I didn't necessarily pay this much for it because I was working for Free Hardman, and because I was connected with Free Hardman, I was kind of promoting and helping the students get Logos, and they would give me free upgrades and that sort of thing. So I've got probably $2,000 or $3,000 worth of invested in, and I've spent probably another $1,000 on top of that over the years. But it aggravated me that they would show all the things that this program would do, but when you would spend some money on it, it wouldn't do it because you had to spend some more money for it to do that. And you spend some more money, and they'd say, well, that feature right there, you get all these other, but this feature right here, you got to spend some more money. So it was just kind of a rat race like that, and I just didn't. Plus, it was very slow. At one time, when you loaded it on, even on a Windows machine, a pretty fast machine, you'd have to let it run for 48 hours or so because it would re-index itself, and so it was really not a very good program at one time. It has since gotten a whole lot better. It's a whole lot faster. What they have done recently is they've gone to a subscription. So you're going to be locked in on Logos 10. There's not going to be a Logos 11. So you're locked into a subscription. Now, if you bought the books like what I have, then you have those from now on. But any of the tools that are extra it will not work on it. So what I'm planning on doing, I have the Max subscription, which is like $13 a month, and I bought it just for teach this class. And when I get back home, I'm going to probably cancel it, and I'm going to use Accordance, and it is much more. It's more Bible based. It takes you right into the Bible. It doesn't take you to the store and try to sell you books and that sort of thing. It takes you directly into the Bible. And there's just a lot of stuff that you can do with it. And Logos has always bragged about the number of books they had. as a preacher, you know how that goes. You can brag about having 5,000 books, but some of those books, I've got one book in my library I noticed the other day that's taking up space. It's an MLA handbook. And I thought, that thing needs to go to the trash because it's just taking up room. So there are some books that are not worth having. I mean, you can't sell them. You can't give them away. Nobody wants them. The only thing you can do is just throw them away. Some books are collector's items, so you got to distinguish between the two. But Logos has always emphasized numbers. Corinth has emphasized the quality. They've not tried to say we have 3,000 books. They've tried to talk about the quality of work that they have. And that's the reason I like it much better. And you can pick out the area. Of course, you can do that with Logos, but you can pick if you're into languages, you can pick out one model that you want to use and so forth. But that's the question that you need to deal with. Now, the advantage of the subscription is, especially if you're a younger preacher, or if you anticipate preaching several more years and using software, is that you can try it out and see. And you can try it out for, say, well, I've been trying it out for 3 months, I guess. So at this point, it's cost me $36. Before, if you wanted to try it out, you'd spend $200 or $300 to get the package, and you were just kind of stuck with it. This way, you pay just by the month, and you can try it out as long as you want to. But any books that you buy or you have bought in times past, they will still work. It's just that some of the AI tools, the sermon builder tools, that sort of thing, those extra tools, it will not work with it. So there are pros and cons. I do not like the subscription. I have to pay for Adobe. I pay for a whole year just to use it for a month or two, and I don't like that. I like it where you buy the software, put it on your computer, and it's yours until you die or you don't need it any longer. Well, that's not the way it works anymore. Either the equipment gets outdated and it won't work anymore, or whatever it is. Some of this is probably built in, what do they call it, obsolescence or whatever. You just will not do that. I've known software updates that every one of your printer drivers would stop working, and so you'd have to buy a brand new printer because you couldn't get a driver for it. So that's not playing fair. That is not playing fair at all. Are there any other questions? I love these questions. We got some good input, and I appreciate all of it.
Talking about Accordance.
Accordance Bible Software. All right, I'll show it to you. That's it right there. And it's fairly simple to use. Just
What the icon looks like.
all right. It's this one right down here. What I like about it is that you can change translations. See, if Brother Earl's up preaching, I change to the New American Standard. I can change. Sometimes I try to guess what translation somebody's using, and sometimes I get pretty close, and sometimes I have to look a little while. But one of the things that I like about it is that it'll work on your. You buy one library, and it'll work on your iPhone. It'll work on your desktop, whatever program you have. It is a Mac program, but you can also get it for Windows, and you can get it for Android phones. And by the way, you know the Bible says when you get married, the two shall become one. One of the reasons I bought the new phone is because Susan had an Android. And I tell you what, when you're living in a household with an Android and iPhone, they don't get along very well. And Susan will say, well, how do I do this? And I said, I don't know, and I'm too tired to try to figure it out. So that doesn't work very well. So guess what? For her birthday, I bought her an iPhone 16e. And for my whim, I bought a 16e. So we got it exactly the same phone. So if she has a question, I can figure it out on mine. So, but one of the great things that I like about it is that you can build I've got, and I'm not sure that I've got it up to date. Let's see. I don't think I do have. I've got all of the Freedom Relationship books from '94 to 2000. I've got all of those. Those are the years that I put together the book. I've got. You can create your own books. When I do a sermon outline, I do it in here, and when you put a reference, a Bible reference in there, it will automatically hyperlink it. So you've got a hyperlink to all your Bible verses. So you just tap on that, and it pops up. And what you can do is you can set it up so that on your especially on the iPad works good because you can put your PowerPoint in one side, and then you can put this Bible program on the other side. You have your sermon outline, and you just tap on it, and it pops up the verse. But you've got your slide show that shows up here. And the only thing that people see is just the screen. They don't see your notes. They don't see what you're using. So there's a lot of things that you can do with that. But I was thinking that I had, since this is a new phone, I haven't copied over my Fred Hardman material. I have Hugo McCord's translation. I built, you can build translations. I took his translation and I put it in my phone, built a phone a program, created one in that. So you can do a lot of stuff. You can create your own commentaries, own Bibles, that sort of thing. Any questions about Accordance? And you can start out with about $50 for Accordance and move forward.
I thought mine was free. Is it not free, the Accordance? That's on my phone.
Well, we as a family, we share.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's the reason why you don't need an Android is because we can't share. So we can share now. So yes, sir.
Does Accordance also have a subscription platform? Or
No, they do not have a subscription. You buy just the books you want. You can buy as little as much as you want, and starts out with about. They've got a free version, but the free version will do some stuff, but it's not very much it'll do. But it is enough, and you can put it on your phone, and it works. It works pretty good. It's as good as any other free version that you have. But it does have a few chapters of Hebrew and a few chapters of Greek, that sort of thing. But if you buy it for your desktop, when you have it on your desktop, you can put it on your iPhone. You can sync it. Now, I write my sermons usually on either the MacBook or usually on my desktop, and I can sync it to this, and it will automatically sync my notes up, and I'm good to go. So in any Sunday when I walk in, if I have one computer to crash, I've got as many as 3 copies that I can use. I have the iPad, it's good to go. I have the MacBook Pro, it's good to go. I have the iPhone, it's good to go. So I'm ready to go. And I have it sometimes it will crash on you, but you just reach up, pick up the other one, and just keep going. All right, we are just about out of time. We'll take one more or 2 more questions. If let me make one point about Logos and the advantage of using Logos and AI is that when you do chat, when you do that, you're searching, I guess, the internet, and you're searching their platform. They're searching all of that. But whenever if you search on your library, and that's the books, if you have, say you have 30 commentaries, and you search on your books, what it's going to do is it's going to search those 30 books. It's not going to go out and search what's on the internet, or it's not going to search what's on your computer. It's going to search within your Logos library.
So can you, with Logos or Accordance, or both, can you take a PDF you have, like a McGarvey's work, and put it into that?
Yes. Yes, this read PDFs. Logos is supposed to do personal books. This will do personal books. Accordance will. I'm talking about a Freed Hardeman lectureship book. That's a personal book, a created book. It doesn't have, and whenever you load it in, it will search that book just like it will all the other books. So it has a search capabilities, and it's instant. There's no re-indexing and waiting overnight and that sort of thing. It's when you put it in there, it just indexes it like that. So it becomes searchable. Yes.
I think with Logos, it's got to be a Word file.
Yes.
Word doc file.
Well, the problem there is it's not only has to be a Word file, but it's only something you can create yourself. I cannot create the document like the Freed Hardeman lectureship book and turn that into a Logos file and give that Logos file to another user because it will not work. And at one time they did that. You had to pay an extra $100 a year or something to do that, but they don't want you doing that. It's okay for you to have your own works, but they don't want you to share those works with anybody else. So that's another, thing that didn't care for. Okay, it's 2:17, 2:18. Thank y'all very much for being here. Appreciate it, and I hope you benefited from it. And stay tuned. We'll have something maybe next year exciting to deal with. Who knows? Who knows?